Hi students, welcome to Chapter 5, which covers the concepts of biomes and biodiversity. I have broken up this chapter into 6 smaller lectures. In this first lecture, we will be reviewing the terrestrial biomes of the world. As the before warmed study shows, the increasing temperatures and drier climate expected if we continue our current path toward global climate change are likely to bring dramatic transformations to the Boreal forest along the Canadian border from Minnesota to Maine. To evaluate the potential effects of environmental changes, it's useful to understand the patterns of plant and animal distribution that occur in various environmental conditions. We call large biological communities biomes. If we know the range of temperature and precipitation in a particular place, we can generally predict what kind of biome is likely to occur there in the absence of human disturbance. An important characteristic of each biome is its biodiversity, or the number and variety of different biological species that live there. This figure shows the biomes most likely to occur in the absence of human disturbance or other disruptions, according to average temperature and precipitation. Note, this diagram does not consider soil type, topography, wind speed, or other important environmental factors. Still, it is a useful general guideline for biome location. So remember, basic biome types can be predicted based on temperature and precipitation in a given area. Compare this map with Figure 5.3 for generalized temperature and moisture conditions that control biome distribution. Also compare it with the satellite image of biological productivity in Figure 5.15. Study this map for a few minutes. What patterns do you see? Where are tropical forests located? Look at the deserts of the world, the pale pink color. Do you see a pattern emerge? In fact, many of the temperature-controlled biomes occur in latitudinal bands. For example, a band of boreal forest crosses Canada, Europe, and Siberia. Tropical forests occur near the equator, and expansive grasslands lie near or just above and below the tropics. Some biomes are named for their latitudes. Tropical rainforests occur between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. Arctic tundra lies near or above the Arctic Circle. Note that the deserts are often located along the Tropic of Cancer or the Tropic of Capricorn. Temperature and precipitation change with elevation as well as with latitude, and thus biomes can also be seen to vary with elevation. In mountainous regions, temperatures are cooler and precipitation is usually greater at high elevations. Mountains are cooler and often wetter than low elevations. Vertical zonation is a term applied to vegetation zones defined by altitude. In this slide, we see an example of vertical zonation. A 100-kilometer transect from California's Central Valley up to Mount Whitney, for example, crosses as many vegetation zones as you would find on a journey from Southern California to northern Canada. Moisture availability depends on temperature as well as precipitation. The horizontal axis on these climate diagrams shows months of the year. Vertical axes show temperature on the left side and precipitation right side. The number of dry months, shaded yellow, and wetter months, shaded in blue, varies with geographic location. Year annual temperatures and precipitation are shown at the top of each graph. The humid tropical regions support one of the most complex and biologically rich biome types in the world. Although there are several kinds of moist tropical forests, all have ample rainfall and uniform temperatures. Cool cloud forests are found high in the mountains, where fog and mist keep vegetation wet all the time. Tropical rainforests occur where rainfall is abundant, more than 200 centimeters per year, and temperatures are warm to hot year-round. The soil of both these tropical moist forest types tends to be thin, acidic, and nutrient poor, yet the number of species present can be mind-boggling. The nutrient cycles of these forests also are distinctive. About 90% of all the nutrients in the rainforest are contained in the bodies of the living organisms. Many tropical regions are characterized by distinct wet and dry seasons, although temperatures remain hot year-round. These areas support tropical seasonal forests, drought-tolerant forests that look brown and dormant in the dry season but burst into vivid green during rainy months. These forests are often called dry tropical forests because they are dry much of the year. However, there must be some periodic rain to support plant growth. Many of the trees and shrubs in a seasonal forest are drought deciduous. They lose their leaves and cease growing when no water is available. Seasonal forests are often open woodlands that grade into savannas. Soils of dry forests often have higher nutrient levels and are more agriculturally productive than those of a rainforest. Finally, having fewer insects, parasites, and fungal diseases than a wet forest makes a dry or seasonal forest a healthier place for humans to live. Consequently, these forests are highly endangered in many places. Where there is too little rainfall to support forests, we find open grasslands or grasslands with sparse tree cover, which we call savannas. Like tropical seasonal forests, most tropical savannas and grasslands have a rainy season, but generally the rains are less abundant or less dependable than in a forest. During dry seasons, fire can sweep across a grassland, killing off young trees and keeping the landscape open. Savanna and grassland plants have many adaptations to survive drought, heat, and fires. Many have deep, long-lived roots that seek groundwater and that persist when leaves and stems above the ground die back. After a fire or drought, fresh green shoots grow quickly from the roots. Migratory grazers such as wildebeest, antelope, or bison thrive on this new growth. Grazing pressure from domestic livestock can create a significant impact on the health of grasslands and savannas. You may think of deserts as barren and biologically impoverished. Their vegetation is sparse, but it can be surprisingly diverse, and most plants and animals are highly adapted to survive long droughts, extreme heat, and often extreme cold. Deserts occur where precipitation is sporadic and low, usually with less than 30 centimeters of rain per year. Adaptations to these conditions include water-storing leaves and stems, thick epidermal layers to reduce water loss and salt tolerance. As in other dry environments, many plants are drought deciduous. Most desert plants also bloom and set seed quickly when rain does fall. Like plants, animals in deserts are especially adapted. Many are nocturnal, spending their days in burrows to avoid the sun's heat and desiccation. Pocket mice, kangaroo rats, and gerbils can get most of their moisture from seeds and plants. Desert rodents also have highly concentrated urine and nearly dry feces, which allow them to eliminate body waste without losing precious moisture. Temperate grasslands are distinct from tropical grasslands. However, as in tropical latitudes, temperate grasslands occur where there is enough rain to support abundant grass, but not enough for forests. Usually grasslands are a complex, diverse mix of grasses and flowering herbaceous plants, generally known as forbs. Myriad flowering forbs make a grassland colorful and lovely in summer. In dry grasslands, vegetation may be less than a meter tall. In more humid areas, grasses can exceed 2 meters. Where scattered trees occur in a grassland, we call it a savanna. Deep roots help plants in temperate grasslands and savannas survive drought, fire, and extreme heat and cold. These roots, together with an annual winter accumulation of dead leaves on the surface, produce thick, organic-rich soil in temperate grasslands. Because of this rich soil, many grasslands have been converted to farmland. Often, dry environments support drought-adapted shrubs and trees, as well as grass. These mixed environments can be highly variable. They can also be very rich biologically. Such conditions are often described as Mediterranean. where the hot season coincides with the dry season, producing hot, dry summers and cool, moist winters. Evergreen shrubs with small, leathery, sclerophyllous or hard, waxy leaves form dense thickets. Scrub oaks, drought-resistant pines, or other small trees often cluster in sheltered valleys. Periodic fires burn fiercely in this fuel-rich plant assemblage and are a major factor in plant succession. In California, this landscape is called chaparral, Spanish for thicket. Resident animals are drought-tolerant species such as jackrabbits, kangaroo rats, mule deer, chipmunks, lizards, and many bird species. Very similar landscapes are found along the Mediterranean coast as well as southwestern Australia, central Chile, and south of Africa. Temperate or mid-latitude forests occupy a wide range of precipitation conditions but occur mainly between about 30 and 55 degrees latitude. In general, we can group these forests by tree type, which can be broad-leafed deciduous, or trees that lose their leaves seasonally, or evergreen coniferous, cone-bearing trees. Broadleaf forests occur throughout the world where rainfall is plentiful. In mid-latitudes, these forests are deciduous and lose their leaves in winter. The loss of green chlorophyll pigments can produce brilliant color in these forests in autumn. At lower latitudes, broadleaf forests may be evergreen or drought deciduous. Southern live oaks, for example, are broadleaf evergreen trees. These forests also shelter a great diversity of songbirds. North American deciduous forests once covered most of what is now the eastern half of the United States and southern Canada. Most of Western Europe was once deciduous forest, but was cleared 1,000 years ago. When European settlers first came to North America, they quickly settled and cut most of the eastern deciduous forest for firewood, lumber, and industrial uses, as well as to clear farmland. Many of those regions have now returned to deciduous forest, though the dominant species may have changed. Coniferous forests grow in a wide range of environmental conditions. Often they occur where moisture is limited. In cold climates, moisture is unavailable in winter. Hot climates may have seasonal drought. Sandy soils hold little moisture, and they are often occupied by conifers. Thin waxy leaves, or needles, help these trees reduce moisture loss and thus are well adapted to harsh climates. Coniferous forests provide most wood products in North America. Dominant wood production regions include the Southern Atlantic and Gulf Coast states, the Mountain West, and the Pacific Northwest, Northern California to Alaska. But coniferous forests support forestry in many regions. Tropical savannas and grasslands experience annual drought and rainy seasons and year-round warm temperatures. Thorny acacias and abundant grazers thrive in this savanna. The yellow areas on the climate diagram show a moisture deficit. Deserts generally receive less than 30 centimeters of precipitation per year. Hot deserts, as in the American Southwest, endure year-round drought and extreme heat in summer. Grasslands occur at mid-latitudes on all continents. Kept open by extreme temperatures, dry conditions, and periodic fires, grasslands can have surprisingly high plant and animal diversity. The coniferous forests of the Pacific coast grow in extremely wet conditions. The wettest coastal forests are known as temperate rainforests, a cool, rainy forest often enshrouded in fog. Condensation in the canopy, or leaf drip, is a major form of precipitation in the understory. Mild year-round temperatures and abundant rainfall, up to 250 centimeters per year, result in luxuriant plant growth and giant trees such as the California redwoods, the largest trees in the world and the largest above-ground organism ever known to have existed. Redwoods once grew along the Pacific coast from California to Oregon, but logging has reduced their range to a few small fragments of those areas. Because conifers can survive winter cold, they tend to dominate the boreal forest or northern forests that lie between about 50 degrees and 60 degrees north latitude. Mountainous areas at lower latitudes may also have many characteristics and species of the boreal forest. Dominant species are pines, hemlocks, spruce, cedar, and fir. Some deciduous trees are also present, such as maples, birch, aspen, and alder. These forests are slow growing because of the cold temperatures and short frost-free growing season, but they are still an expansive resource. In Siberia, Canada, and the western United States, large regional economies depend on boreal forests. They are favorite places for hunting, fishing, and recreation, as well as extractive resource use. If those forests disappear as a result of global warming, both human uses and the unique species, such as moose, lynx, and otter, that depend on that biome will be sorely missed. The extreme ragged edge of the boreal forest, where forest gradually gives way to open tundra, is known by its Russian name, taiga. Where temperatures are below freezing most of the year, only small hardy vegetation can survive. Tundra, a treeless landscape that occurs at high latitudes or on mountaintops, has a growing season of only 2 or 3 months, and it may have frost any month of the year. Some people consider tundra a variant of grasslands because it has no trees. Others consider it a very cold desert because water is unavailable, because it's frozen most of the year. Compared to other biomes, tundra has relatively low diversity. Dwarf shrubs such as willows, sedges, grasses, mosses, and lichens tend to dominate the vegetation. Migratory muskox, caribou, or alpine mountain sheep and mountain goats can live on the vegetation because they move frequently to new pastures.